An intense fear of interacting or talking with strangers is a common symptom of social anxiety disorder, or SAD. Other symptoms include fear of situations in which you may be judged negatively, worrying about embarrassing or humiliating yourself, fear that others will notice that you look anxious, or even fear of physical symptoms that may cause you embarrassment, such as blushing, sweating, trembling, or having a shaky voice. People with SAD often avoid doing things or speaking to people out of fear of embarrassment, and they avoid situations that draw attention to themselves. But what causes SAD? Ever wonder if social anxiety is influenced by your genetics?
What is DNA? DNA, also known as deoxyribonucleic acid, is a hereditary material found in the nucleus or possibly the mitochondria. It is made up of two strands that are kept together by bonds between chemical bases. These chemical bases are A. Adenine, T. Thymine, C. Cytosine, and G. Adenine bonds with thymine, and cytosine bonds with guanine. The series just stated are also known as base pairs. They help to assemble protein and RNA molecules. The base pairs are attached to both sugar molecules and a phosphate molecule. The base, sugar, and phosphate put together are referred to as a nucleotide. The nucleotide is basically two strands that are held together by the bases that create a spiral, which can also be called creates RNA through transcription and then creates proteins through translation. All of us are made up of patterns of DNA, which are our genes, and each of our patterns are different. All of us get 2 pairs of genes from our father and 2 pairs of genes from our mother that make us who we are. These genes determine things like our physical appearance or our unique characteristics.
Genetics can be influenced by 2 factors, nature and nurture. Nature refers to genes and hereditary factors that influence our physical appearance and personality characteristics. This means that genes are inherited from a parent through the transmission of DNA. Nurture refers to environmental variables impacting who we are. This includes childhood experiences, how we were raised, social relationships, and our cultures. Scientists use the study of epigenetics when looking at genes. Epigenetics shows how environmental influences, including nature and nurture, help shape one's genetics. During DNA development, DNA is composed of chemical marks which determine how much or how little a gene is turned on. These chemical marks are called epigenomes. The experiences children have during childhood can influence their chemical makeup, deciding the way they act, their skills, health, and interests. Experiences can change how genes release certain information. Epigenomes can be influenced by positive experiences like supportive relationships and opportunities for learning. They can also be influenced by negative experiences such as environmental toxins and stressful life circumstances. Each experience can affect the gene temporarily or permanently. Studies show that you can reverse negative changes on genes and restore the genes back to its original function. Negative influences at an early age can influence ways in which children develop, which is why it is important to surround children in a nurturing and caring environment.
Have you ever heard of the Human Genome Project? Well, if you haven't, the Human Genome Project is a project where a group of researchers explored and tried to further their knowledge of genes in humans. The project has been influential in advancing the understanding of genetics. It has increased our knowledge on tracing genetic diseases, had made an impact on different areas of research, and much more. This understanding is useful to diagnose diseases better and faster.
Our knowledge of genetics helps us better understand if social anxiety is influenced by genes. We learned that genes are inherited from our parents, which is by nature. We also learned how our environment and what we surround ourselves with impacts our genes, which is nurture.
Social anxiety disorder, SAD, is influenced by many factors including genetics, environmental, societal, and brain structure or biology. First is genetics. 1/3 of the cause of SAD comes from genetics. If someone in your immediate family has the disorder, you are 2 to 6 times more prone to developing it. There is no genetic makeup related to SAD, but there are certain genes that are linked to anxiety disorders, such as agoraphobia and panic disorder. Secondly, environmental factor. Experiences we are exposed to in our environment influence the onset of SAD. 3 areas of environmental influence include direct conditioning, meaning going through early traumatic effects such as bullying, observational learning, meaning witnessing someone else going through trauma, and information transfer, which means parents transmit verbal or non-verbal information to children about dangers because the parent is experiencing SAD. Thirdly, societal factors. Events people experience in their lives influence social anxiety disorder. An example are people living in war and fleeing for their life and then starting a new life in another country. All are very stressful events and have an impact on one's anxiety. Lastly, brain structure and biological factors. Researchers look at the blood flow in certain areas of the brain to see if you have the disorder. Areas that are involved with anxiety include your brainstem, where they look at the heart rate and breathing, your limbic system for mood and anxiety, your prefrontal cortex for risk and danger, and your motor cortex, which controls your muscles.
DNA technology can be used to modify genes to make things better for people. In our study, we discovered that only 1/3 of SAD cases is a result of genetic makeup. This means that altering the DNA of a person will not eliminate the disorder. Therefore, there is no reason to use DNA technology for the purpose of altering the gene to get rid of social anxiety.